Hello, my name is Stephen Cook. A few months ago, in my AP English class, my teacher, Miss Holmes, brought up the film BORAT, which she dismissed as crude and mean-spirited. I took this as a challenge, to argue for the merits of BORAT not only as a comedy film, but also as an artistic statement. What I feel that Miss Holmes, like many others, miss is that we are not supposed to laugh with BORAT. BORAT is laughing at us. The character of Borat is a creation of British comedian Sacha Baron Cohen, who began to form the character in the late 90s with Moldovan journalist Alexei Krikler for the series FTF. Cohen's persona was built upon for Paramount Comedy 1 into the Albanian Christos Katari, who was later brought to BBC Two's Comedy Nation.
In Albania, we hear she is dead.
She is dead.
We are sorry.
She wears too many clothes. She is not beautiful like you, but she is sexy like a prostitute.
Do you like sexy girls?
What? Yes, I like if they are a bit dirty.
The character would finally take the name and his Kazakhstani background in Cohen's own program, The Ali G Show, which combined Borat with several of Cohen's other personas, such as the titular streetwise faker, Ali G, and flamboyant Austrian fashion expert, Bruno, both of whom would eventually receive feature film spin-offs. Ali G was the first of Cohen's creations to be in a feature film, with 2002's Ali G in the House, to a mixed critical and commercial reception. But the film is notable for also bringing Borat to the big screen in a brief cameo.
This is Borat from Kazakhstan.
Yeg smash. Bless you. It is nice to meet you. Get off your batty boy.
No, Ali,
You're a cocksucker.
4 years later, Borat would receive his own feature film, titled BORAT, Cultural Learnings of America for Make Benefit Glorious Nation of Kazakhstan, and with it, create a cultural storm.
Now when Borat came out in 2006, it was huge. I remember being in school and not even being able to walk down the hallway without someone saying, "High five! Then as a match." The character was beyond impressionable. Who here remembers all the Borat Halloween costumes?
BORAT, Cultural Learnings of America for Make Benefit Glorious Nation of Kazakhstan, tells the epic story of Kazakh reporter Borat Shadiev, who travels to New York City to make a documentary with his producer Azamat, but eventually embarks on a cross-country road trip to Los Angeles in an ice cream truck to meet the love of his life, Pamela Anderson. Along the way, he encounters and interviews a collection of strange people, and perhaps discovers the truth of America. Borat is a funny movie that is endlessly quotable due to Cohen's brilliant performance, but the film's genius comes from its expression of truth. If the film had been a scripted comedy, akin to Cohen's earlier Ali G in the House, it would be a biting satire of American culture. But Cohen instead combines the mockumentary format with intense method acting to make American citizens reveal the dark side of America within themselves. Other than Cohen, the only members of the cast who seemed to know that the film was not a genuine Kazakh documentary were Ken Davitan, who plays Azamat, Lunel, who plays a prostitute of the same name, and Pamela Anderson as herself. The cast and crew stayed in character throughout the shoot, to give the impression they were actually a Kazakh news team, and the unsuspecting victims of Borat's prank signed their release forms to appear in the film under the belief that it was a real foreign documentary. The level of truth and authenticity in Borat allows the viewer a unique glimpse at what Americans would normally keep hidden about themselves. Borat's extreme and offensive personality often makes people willing to express their own awful views. Many great works about America try to indirectly replicate the dark underbelly of American society, but Borat manages to capture it alive. Perhaps the most shocking element of Borat is its discussion of race. The most obvious element of this is the film's constant jokes relating to and featuring anti-Semitism. Sacha Baron Cohen is a Jew himself, and the character of Borat is defined by his hatred and fear towards the Jewish people. The opening sequence in Kazakhstan features an annual ritual known as the Running of the Jew. But as Borat travels through America, he meets many Jews, and while his superstitions and opinions don't seem to change because of his encounters, by the end of the film, Borat acknowledges the cruelty of the running of the Jew, and instead his village lives a Christian lifestyle. Borat's journey possesses a loose connection to that of Mark Twain's Huckleberry Finn, who also begins his journey with prejudice, but by the end reluctantly discovers the humanity of the people he once regarded as lesser. However, prior to the ending, Borat's attitudes towards the Jewish people is not a comment on Kazakhstan, but rather on the anti-Semitism lurking in America. The most obvious example of this is not from the film, but rather an episode of The Ali G Show, where Borat entertains a bar with his song.
In my country there is problem, and that problem is the Jew. They take everybody money, they never give it back. Throw the Jew down the well, so my country can be free. You must grab him by his horns, then we have a big party. If you see the Jew coming, you must be careful of his teeth. You must grab him by his money, and I tell you what to do. Everybody, throw the Jew down the well, so my country can be free. You must grab him by his horns, then we have a big party.
While some reports claim that the crowd knew it was a joke, the intent of the joke is to mock how easily the crowd of Americans is willing to not only accept the offensive song, but join in wholeheartedly. Naomi Alderman, a Jewish novelist, wrote an article for The Guardian where she discusses the effectiveness of Borat's humor. She compares Cohen's pranks to the 1961 Milgram obedience study, which showed that test subjects would continue to harm an unseen person using electrical shocks if they were instructed to by an authority figure in a lab coat. Alderman compares Borat to the scientist who makes the despicable ideologies of the audience seem acceptable because he is acting as a kind of authority figure in the situation. But Borat's racial commentary extends past anti-Semitism. The Bush administration and the after effects of 9/11 weigh heavy on the themes of the film. Borat explicitly mentions 9/11 when he says,
He insists we not fly in case the Jews repeated their attack of 9/11.
and Bush's war on terror is mocked in the rodeo scene, but the conversation just prior to the rodeo between Borat and Bobby Rowe, the rodeo manager, shows what Borat really represents.
Of course, every picture that we get back from the terrorists or anything else, the Muslims, they look like you. Black hair and a black mustache.
Yes.
Shave that dadgum mustache off so you're not so conspicuous. So you look like maybe an Italian or something.
Yes.
As far as from people looking at you. I see a lot of people and I think there's a dadgum Muslim. I wonder what kind of bomb he's got strapped to him.
Yes.
And you probably aren't a Muslim. Maybe that's not your
No,
religion.
I am a Kazakh. I follow the hawk.
But you look like one of them.
Borat is perceived by the people around him as the dangerous foreigner. But as they get to know him, they connect over their shared awfulness. The treatment of African Americans is brought up a few times in the film, such as when Borat meets an African American politician and refers to him as
A genuine chocolate face. No makeup.
Later in the film, he encounters a group of African American youths at night, and while he slightly offends them by saying that
You look like Michael Jackson beat it.
he later says that
I like you peoples. Can you teach me how to dress? How can I be like you?
Borat is ignorant of African American people, but he doesn't express hatred or real bigotry towards them. The racism comes later when Borat realizes the oppression of African American people at the hotel he stays at, which forces him out due to his newly learned slang.
Vanilla face. Me and my homie Azamat just parked our slab outside. We're looking for somewhere to post up our black ass for the night. So bang bang, skeet skeet.
Borat's innocence and naivety forcibly collides with the truth of American racism. A similar event happens later When Borat is invited to a dinner party, the hosts tolerate his absolutely disgusting actions, including insulting the other guests and defecating into a plastic bag. But when he invites Lunel, an African-American woman, into the house, who the hosts do not know is a prostitute, he is forced to leave, and the police are called. Once again, Borat's naivety contrasts with the reality of the South's proud heritage of racial prejudice. Finally, Borat rides with a group of frat boys from the University of South Carolina, and they discuss this concept of slavery.
Are women your slaves in Russia?
No. Do you have slaves here?
We
No
wish.
slaves. No
We
slaves.
wish.
It is a shame.
And Borat.
Big
Borat.
shame. Big shame.
It would be better country if...
Yes,
Yeah,
there
but
would be a
Borat-
better country. We should have slaves.
Our country, the minorities actually have more power.
Anyone that is minority has the upper hand. We have the Jews. We have anybody that's against the mainstream.
Borat manages to elicit reactions of their most awful desires by making them feel comfortable to be themselves. The theme of religion in Borat further expresses a grim mockery of American values and the American underbelly. Borat's beliefs seem to be pagan at the start of the film, but at his lowest moment in the final act, he converts to the Pentecostal church. The pastor of the church begins his sermon by rejecting America's shift towards secularism and modern understanding of evolution, asserting that
we're a Christian nation now. We were a Christian nation in the beginning, and we're going to always be a Christian nation until the good Lord returns. Amen.
No, I didn't evolve out of a monkey. I didn't used to be a tadpole. I is what I is.
Borat's conversion sets him on the path to kidnap Pamela Anderson, now with the spirit of Mr. Jesus as his motivation and justification.
I will forgive Pamela, and I will go to California. I will go to Malibu with me and my friend Mr. Jesus, and together we will take her.
Borat uses God as an excuse for his terrible actions and views, just as how many Americans justify racism, sexism, and homophobia with their religious views.
We no longer have a running of the Jew. It's cruel. We're Christians now.
The violent racism of Borat's village has been replaced by violent religious imagery, but Borat's village is always acting out of some basic desire for violence. The violence of Borat's village compares strongly to the violence prevalent in America at the time. America under the Bush administration is defined by the war on terror. Borat mocks the senseless violence in the rodeo scene.
My name is Borat. I come from Kazakhstan. Can I say first, we support your war of terror. May we show our support to our boys in Iraq. May USA kill every single terrorist. May George Bush drink the blood of every single man, woman, and child of Iraq. May you destroy their country so that for the next 1,000 years, not even a single lizard will survive in their desert.
While the audience is initially very supportive of Borat's cries for violence, Borat's speech becomes more and more absurd in the brutality of the violence he suggests, that the audience's cheering finally dies out. But Borat's shouts for violence against the entire population of Iraq never cause the audience to turn against him. That only occurs when he disrespects what they hold sacred as Americans.
I now will sing our Kazakh national anthem to the tune of your national anthem. Please stand. Kazakhstan is the greatest country in the world. All other countries are run by little girls. Kazakhstan is #1 exporter of potassium. Other Central Asian countries have inferior potassium. Kazakhstan is the greatest country in the world. All other countries is the home of the gays.
Borat's butchering of the national anthem leads to boos from the crowd, and in real life nearly caused a riot. The crowd confirms the idea that they value America's pride over millions of Iraqi lives. Borat's extreme nationalism in singing his anthem reflects the growing nationalism in America against foreigners. In Bush's America, anyone who looks foreign could be a threat. Sexuality in Borat is one of its more obvious themes. A large number of the jokes come from some sexual or anatomical reference, but Borat expresses some strongly sexist views throughout the film, mocking the state of gender roles in America. Borat's primary goal throughout the film is to marry Pamela Anderson because he finds her physically attractive. This only occurs after he finds out about the death of his wife, which comes as a joyous relief to him. His method of wedding her is without consent and would be referred to by most people as kidnapping. Borat's ideologies represent a dehumanizing idea of women as simply objects for sex. He steals her, like a product in a store. Borat's views on women are clearly expressed when he meets with a group of feminists towards the beginning of the film.
But is it not a problem that a woman have a smaller brain than a man?
That is wrong.
But the government scientist, Dr. Yamak, have proved it is size of squirrel.
Your government scientist?
Yes, Dr. Yamak.
He's wrong. He's wrong.
Borat's comments are reminiscent of the patriarchal prodding that women are subjected to daily. Especially when he says,
"Give me a smile, baby. Why angry face?"
Well, what you're saying is very demeaning. Do you know the word demeaning?
No.
And later,
"Listen, pussycat, smile a bit."
All right. That's it.
Okay.
I'm done.
We're finished. We have to leave.
Borat's objectifying views on women are supported when he visits a car dealership. The salesman goes along with Borat's remarks, and he seems to know exactly the car that would attract women the way Borat would like. He isn't even fazed when Borat describes how
I buy my wife. At the start, she was cook good, her vagina work well, and she's strong on plow. But after 3 years, when she was 15, then she become weak, her voice become a deep Borat, Borat. She receive a hair on her chest, and her vagina hang like slave of wizard.
Huh. Jeez.
How do I know that this will not happen with the car?
Chevrolet guarantees you that with a warranty.
Borat literally compares a woman to a car in this scene, and the man goes along with it. The frat boys that Borat encounters at the end of the film are far more vocal about their misogynistic views.
Thank you very much.
So what, you like the out there in the old Russia there?
What?
The in old Russia.
What the
men
Russia?
the women. The baby. The girls. You the shit out of them.
Yeah.
And then you never call them again.
Why you don't call them? Because they do not have a telephone, yes?
No, not because of that.
They don't have my
Definitely not 'cause of
respect,
that.
you know? I mean,
You're in America now. You'll make it. You keep going.
You are
okay?
bigger than a woman.
You keep
You are
going.
better than a woman.
Back to New York.
We'll
Do not-
always be behind you.
Do not let a woman
We'll always
ever,
be behind you.
ever make you who you are.
In addition to their sexism, they voice a far more casual expression of sexuality. While Borat struggles to imagine having sex with anyone who isn't a virgin, the boys simply desire flesh. Borat eventually accepts Pamela, and after his rejection he marries a prostitute, showing that his view on virginity has completely transformed. Borat's transformation is indicative of America's shift away from older value systems regarding sexuality, but also its embrace of less emotional and humanized relationships towards a more casual expression of sexuality. Besides his misogyny, Borat also constantly expresses his feelings of homophobia. One such scene is when Borat meets a politician who informs him that some men he had just recently met were actually gay.
On a Sunday, I arrive in Washington. There was a parade. I make 2 friends from this parade. I invite them back to my hotel room. We drink like a normal in Kazakhstan. We wrestle like a normal in Kazakhstan. Then they say, I wash you in a shower, and he washed me in a shower.
It sounds like you met somebody who is from what is called in America the gay community.
What did it mean gay? This word
homosexual.
Gay? A homosexual? You mean Are you telling me the man who tried to put a rubber fist in my anus was a homosexual?
Borat reacts in disgust and is shocked at this news. Borat is mistaken as being gay many times throughout the film, in part because he tries to kiss people upon meeting them. In one such scene, the rodeo manager says,
I ain't gonna kiss you. No, why not? The people that do the kissing over here are the ones that float around like that.
Are they all a little
Yeah, stay away from them that kiss.
Okay.
You don't want nobody kissing.
In my country, they take them and they take them to jail and finish
Take them out and hang them.
Yes.
That's what we're trying to get done here.
High five.
Thank you.
Borat's clear homophobia makes it so that the rodeo manager feels comfortable expressing his desire to murder homosexuals. It's as terrifying as it is hilarious, and it's one of the best moments in the film. America changes him, as it changes everyone who goes there. Borat's character changes primarily for the better, and he seems to learn from his experiences in America how to improve himself and his community to some degree, even if he's a bit misguided. This then raises the question of why Borat was such a sensation when it was released. Adam Johnson at YourMovieSucks.org asserts that
it was a movie that appealed to nearly everybody. Like how racists can enjoy this movie for its racism, but other people who are smarter than that and know that the movie's not actually racist but is making fun of racism can enjoy it for that. It's intelligent on a satirical level, but at the same time you don't necessarily have to understand the satire and social political commentary to be able to enjoy this movie. Take away all the intelligent humor and you still have a Bad Grandpa-esque film filled with crude humor and funny reactions. But even if that's all that this movie was, it would still be eons above Bad Grandpa, because this movie took it to the extreme.
There are a shocking number of people who seem to miss the point of Borat. More than a simple mockery, it is an expose of the vilest parts of American society. Some argue that his pranks are
duplicitous in the sense that he's pretending that he doesn't at all feel the way the character feels, when in fact he's the one who wrote the script. So I don't think he had the slightest intention of this being art. I think this entire movie was a personal agenda, and he is hiding behind the art. And I just think what he did was mean-spirited. That's the part of it that offends me. These were not actors being paid to look stupid or take their clothes off or say ugly things in a film. These were real people who did not know what was happening. There's a lot of bigotry and bias in the world, in everyone we know. And so to make it permanently public with a trick, like Sacha Baron Cohen committed, as I said, it's cruel, really. And if you have an opportunity to bring out the best in someone or bring out the worst in them, I think less of you if your choice is to bring out the worst in them. So I just think Borat, that Sacha Baron Cohen was unkind, it was cruel. He chose to bring out the worst in people as a form of art. When that's not what we need in art. We don't need any more art or experience in which we see people at their very worst selves. And so maybe he made a lot of money and a lot of people laughed, but did he make the world a better place? So I would argue he's making a fool of you too.
But it seems to me that even if Cohen's gag is a bit cruel, the truth it uncovers about the dark underbelly of America is valuable enough to make it worthwhile. Borat's grim commentary on Bush's America may hold less political relevance today, but that doesn't mean the nation has necessarily improved. The racism, sexism, homophobia, anti-Semitism, and religious justification that Borat mocks is still prevalent in American society today. By the end of the film, Borat has changed for the better, and that raises the question, can we